So, Marcus, I'm very glad to have you with us. And once again, congratulations on winning the Global Architecture and Design Awards 20. And what a brilliant project Oscar 2525 is. I mean, our jurors were very pleasantly impressed. And so let's just roll on with it. And I'd like to get your vision and the initial ideas behind Oscar 2025.
Oh, I said my English is not perfect, so I wrote
No
some
worries,
text
no
to
worries.
help me to tell about it. So the Oscar, first of all, thank you for the award. We are very happy about this award. And so the design and the Oscar, we think this building to be seen from near and from far. So therefore, it seeks a balance between the monumental scale, the urban scale, and the human scale. The monumentality of the tower create a visual landmark which is higher, no? And this is one of the highest points in São Paulo,
Yeah, correct.
big building in São Paulo. So as well, the facade composition. The design embraces the verticality, but also attempts to dissolve this verticality about alternating vertical sun shadings and gardens in the facade. The facade is designed with varying densities of these sun shadings and these gardens. And the urban scale, we think that it's important the diversity of the programs and the location of the building. The buildings close a subway station, so we think the subject of sustainability to build this building near of the transport, the public transport is very important. The ground floor, the commercial, the ground floor is organized through all the ground floor, the commerce, the commercial, the stores is organized through this ground floor. And we designed this ground floor to improve quality to the people who is walking through the streets. So the stores of this building, also the gardens in this building. And so the design of the building, we have this horizontal base that contours the pre-existent buildings, and the design vertical block, the tower, is set back from the perimeter and also separated from the horizontal base. So we put a wooden lining reinforcing the separation between these two shapes, the horizontal shape and the vertical shape. We have this wooden material to separate these two shapes. In the
What actually prompted you to use wooden as a material? I mean, just for the separation thing? Why wooden? I mean, we could have used steel or some other materials as well. What prompted you to use wooden for this specific thing?
Sorry, I didn't understand the question.
You said that the two towers, I mean, there's a difference in the height, right? And you've used wooden as a material, to shorten the coverage or like just like the gap, reduce the gap between them. So why did you use wooden for this purpose? Well, we could have used some different materials as well. What prompted you to use wood?
The wood we use is a material that people love. So we use this material to create some warm sensations.
Uh-huh.
So the people can feel better inside the building. And also is a material that in Brazil we love very much to use this wood. We love to use wood in construction because people feel well with these materials, the sensations good to the people. In the context of the human scale, the intention is to evoke an atmosphere of contemplation. From the moment of arrival of the building to the journey to the apartment of the people. On the ground floor, in the access of the building, the way to the elevators is surrounded by water and gardens and vegetation. And we put two banks strategically positioned to the people sit down and appreciate the gardens. And the tower was designed to guarantee that the apartment enjoyed the best views. On the organization of the plan is make to this. The apartments get the best views of the city, and these views are very impressive. And the materials, we take advantage of the elegance of the light tones. So that's why the building has some whites, soft grays.
Soft, that beige color has got grays in it, it's got whites in it. I mean, the color shade is pretty warm in itself.
Yes, and the people love these colors in Brazil. And it's a color that work very good with the vegetation. We have a good contrast with the light colors and the green of the vegetation and the gardens. That's it.
Yeah, no worries. So, I'd like to get your idea around what steps were taken in this project to meet, the strict environmental guidelines, the standards. And how do you look at responsibility of architects like you to, move beyond those sustainability renders and, execute projects in real life with sustainability in the head?
So I believe that sustainability must involve many agents. In case of the architecture and urbanism, I think about how the cities will have greater densities close to work and public transport.
Mm.
And also in the case of the buildings, I think about how we can create more efficient buildings. And I think that we have to think about how improve people's quality of life through the architecture. And we have a number of people with mental disease and is increasing. So I think that architecture must look to this aspect also. I think that sustainability and quality of life must walk together in this subject.
All right, all right. That is a pretty insightful response to what I'd asked you. Next, I'd move on to, the tower has a really good height. It's one of the points with a vantage, having a vantage point in Sao Paulo, right? So how has the sun exposure been taken into check, considering the height of the tower?
Okay, the building, the apartments have saved enough sunlight for the residents' quality of life. And to make the apartment more pleasant, we designed vertical shadings and flower box on the facade to filter the entry of light into the apartment. Because São Paulo can be very hot and very cold
So
sometimes. Not as cold as a city from Europe. No, it's not that
relatively, I
cold,
mean,
but
it's cool. If you witness those hot days, the cold days
yes,
would look more cold to you, right?
yes, it's more and the shadow cast by the tower will not harm neighbors, as the shadow will only be cast on the streets and avenues and not on the neighborhood buildings. So the sunshade is, I think, we have a good solution in this subject.
So this is about the sunshade, okay? I mean, considering the height of the tower. But how about the influence of the temperature? Because temperature would rise as well, okay? I mean, as the height keeps on increasing, the temperature goes on increasing too. So how did you tackle or combat that factor of the temperature, rise in the temperature, or like drop in the temperature in winters?
Yes, to drop the temperature, we use the sunshades in the facade. Also, we do not have the greatest windows to the north. In Brazil, we have the sun from the north
Yeah,
orientation.
correct. Yeah.
So we had just little windows to the north. So we have put the biggest windows of the apartment from the east, west, and northeast. I don't know how to say it in English, but in the north facade, we don't have many windows, but we had some elements in facade that create shadows in that face, and we had some panels in the facade that can help to the building, to the apartments, to have not so hot in these warm
Okay.
days.
So we've left a minimum space or a minimum window towards north because of the
Yes,
factor of because sunrise is from the north in Brazil, right?
yes,
And we've got the other three direction involved in order to get the lights out or get to just balance the temperature out, right?
Yes,
Great,
yes,
great, great. So that is what I wanted to know. And it's actually a very innovative idea about handling the buildings with such a great height. So
yes.
yeah, Vinicius, I'd like to get your, were there any specific tools or, pieces of research that you also used in the project?
I do not understand that. What do you mean with
There are methods to how an architect acts, or how an architect designs. So, some go to the ground zero, or like the place where the building is going to be executed, right? So they go there, they sit and they plan something. There are other architects who have got different ideas in terms of renderings and all. So what were your techniques in terms of trying to
Okay,
understand the environment surroundings and the lifestyle of the people? How did all of that factor into your idea about the building?
okay. We think a lot about how the people will see the building and feel the building.
Okay.
So we think how the people will we think about the people that will live in the building and the people who just will pass through the building. So we love to think that the architecture must be beautiful, not just to the people who will live in that. We think the architecture must be beauty to everyone. So we love to think how the building will be nice to the people that will pass through. So we love to do we start the creation of the architecture with some sketches, with drawing in hand, sketchbooks, and we put this in the softwares like Archicad and SketchUp. We use the softwares, and we also had many consultants that help us to create some other technical qualities of the building, also the acoustic issues, the solar issues, the glasses. So we work with other teams to help us to get the best result that we can. So we use some softwares that help us do this. We use softwares to make some studies like Archicad. We use every software that can help us to get the best results. We also have used in this project a combination with SketchUp and Enscape to pass through the building so we can look how the visitors and the people will live in the building should feel in this space. So we walk through this building, we show this to our client that is the Azarbus. We show this to our clients how the people will feel that space. So we also think how to create a quality of life in this building. That's a point very important to us. And in all our projects, we love to think how what the people will see in the arrival. The arrival is always a very important place to us. So the people arrive in the building, what they will see, how they will feel in that space. And
Yeah.
so that's so important to us. And the search of the materials, the renderings that we create in this concept studies are always thinking how the people will feel in that space. We search for the answer how the people will feel in that space. That's so important. That this is very important to us.
Vinicius, we touched upon the materials, right? We've spoken about usage of wood in the project. So, was there a conscious effort from your team to use materials that are locally available? And if not, what were the materials that are like majorly used in the project?
The materials
Yeah.
we use that construction. We use concrete because in Brazil metal, steel, and wood it's very expensive. Yet it's not easy to construct with wood or steel. So unfortunately, we have to use concrete in the structure. And some places we use steel in these little spaces.
Vinicius, You said about something about concrete, like you said, unfortunately, we had to use concrete because of the factors that Brazil have, be it financial factors, be it the transportation or availability factors, right? So, if you had an option to use another material instead of concrete, what would you have replaced it by?
We love to can use if it was cheaper. I would love to use more wood and more structured wood or steel that we
Yeah.
can construct with less the steel or the aluminum in the facades to shade the facades, to create some textures in the facade. So we use corrugated aluminum in the facade to create some textures that made the relation with the sun and the light and shadow more interesting.
The materials that you're talking about, steel or wood. So, I mean, is it easier to execute a design with such materials off-site? Off-site manufacturing, I think, is important because, so, to sum it up, what are your views on the off-site manufacturing? I mean, is it important? Like, what are the benefits of it?
Sorry, I think that I did not understand the question.
So, Vinicius, I wanted to get an idea that you have about off-site manufacturing because, a lot of work goes into site. So, let's say we are doing something on site. It takes time and the wastage is a lot, right? Which is not good as per the environmental standards as well, right? So, there are projects that have off-site materials available to them, a factory working for them, and they just get the materials from there. So, how important is that? I mean, is it better?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. We developed some projects, other projects that we can do this with concrete. We developed this outside of the site, and we bring this just to put in the place and construct like that. It's possible in Brazil. It's not very expensive, but when we get some highs like higher like this Oscar 25, we have some difficulties to do this with concrete in Brazil. We can't do this some facilities, and the building gets some expensive that the cost is always a subject. The cost of the building is always something that restrict the evolution of the solutions, the evolution of the construction systems in Brazil. That's a shame, but we had this problem here.
Vinicius, I'd like to also get your idea of how Brazil as a nation is progressing in terms of development in material, in the availability of materials. There's a material research going on globally. Every day you see some new materials coming into market for architects to explore and to talk about. So, what is the scene in Brazil like in terms of materials?
Okay, in terms of materials, we have an evolution in the last years about the wood construction. We have new buildings, but most of them is about constructions of houses, of familiar houses. It's not high buildings. We don't have many experiences with the towers with wood. We also have we do not have this experience yet. But I think that we have some news with we have research about ancient constructions. We have some research about earth constructions that we earth and I do not show constructions. We have some words in Brazil that I can translate in English because
I
there.
can see an idea. I mean, earth construction, I know what you're talking about.
Okay. And we have to look this. The wood construction is one of the the subjects that many contemporary of Brazil are looking at, the wood construction. And in some cases, this earth construction and the mix between these earth constructions and the wood constructions.
Yeah.
That's research that's a subject in Brazil. We are trying to leave the concrete, but the firms that promote constructions in Brazil are very conservated,
Yeah,
So there's some resistance to the change of the way we construct in Brazil because these great constructors are are very interested in the money, not the environment.
but
That's
if
a shame.
you take this thing into account, there's also another thing. Brazil, as a nation, is not one of the most richest nation in the world, right? And to be very honest, construction, the industry in itself, takes a lot of money. It needs
Yes,
huge
yes,
investment. So you cannot, I mean, there are researches about new materials. People try to go ahead and like promote those materials, and there may be no flaws about them, those materials, but still, I mean, concrete is tried, it's tested. So,
yes.
that's one of the reason people are reluctant to go away from it. And I also so I recently had, so there's this page of Liverpool on YouTube. So Alisson Becker, he's like the goalkeeper he's Brazilian, right? Alisson Becker, Brazilian goalkeeper.
I don't know.
All right, so it's about football only. So I heard him saying in an interview that we at Brazil, the one thing that we love in our houses is wood. Give us wooden flooring. I mean, so he was totally adamant on usage of wood in his house. So it just gave me a glimpse into the head of Brazilians, how much they care about the wood as a material.
About the wood. And we love the wood because it's beautiful. We think
It
it's
just gives
beautiful.
a sense of warmth to the space, right?
Yes, yes. It's warm. It's so if you can construct with that material that is efficient and also it's beautiful, you can have the two of the best worlds. We have the efficient of the construction and we have the visual, the beauty. Yes, we have the beauty of
Beautiful.
the construction.
Yeah.
So in Brazil, we have a lot of new villages and houses that are being constructed with wood, but they are houses for the elite. They are big houses, they are expensive houses, but it's elites that some clients that have opened this mind to the importance of this technique and the importance of the environment. So we had the relation with the wood and the glass. The relation with wood and glass is very common in Brazil. It's a very common relation and a beautiful relation because we have this condition that we can build some in Brazil architecture. We also had the look for the great empty spaces, the great vão. Como que eu traduzo?
This started with the
Van.
Neymar's structure, right? He had this thing, the one you're talking about, the elevated roof kind of thing. It was in Oscar Neymar's structures as well, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
I did have a
yes.
good glimpse of it initially. Yeah,
So this space, the construction of the spatiality is very important in their Brazil architecture. And we had this heritage from these great masters like Oscar Niemeyer, Paulo Mendes da Rocha. We had this situation that this empty space and the great openings, the great windows are very important to get some relation between the inside spaces and the
yeah,
outside spaces.
correct, correct, correct. Wonderful, wonderful. I loved your response, Marcus, on this. So I'd like to go ahead and let's just shift the gears towards AI. So, AI is witnessing a boom like never before. And it has also been playing a part in architecture, right? I've seen architecture students, just getting their projects done through AI using Midjourney in a whisker, right? So how is architecture being influenced by AI?
So I think we must to be always in update with these techniques. So we had to use this to help us to get some new results, to get some options, because this I also had offered to us options that we select. So we must to learn how to communicate to these technologies to offer to these the best words the best
Yeah.
words to we have the best results. So I I'm learning to communicate with these technologies. I do not use a lot these techniques, but we in our office are trying to we are thinking how to get this AI in the
In,
routine of the
into your workspace as well, right?
yes to
But
help us to be more productive.
I've heard from a lot of architects that, they don't favor AI to an extent that we'd like to, because, the one point that they made, a lot of architects that I've spoken to, that it strips off the soul from a project. I mean, you can give as many prompts as you like, but the head, the soulfulness that an architect can provide to a project can never be given by AI, right? So they were very
Yes,
reluctant about AI. It hurt their ego. I'm an architect. I don't need to use AI, right? I don't need any kind of support.
yes. Oh, I used Chat GPT to help me to write some texts.
Huh,
So why not use this AI to help us to show some other point of view, how this design can be, or how the rendering of the images can be.
exactly.
It's a tool. It's a good tool, I think.
I mean, it just builds. You can later build upon it, but just there are times when your brain is not working as efficient as you'd like for it to be. So that is one time you can like drop in the prompts. You can get some responses from ChatGPT,
Yes,
and later you can build over it. That'll like give the project the soul that you want. Put on your own ideas about it. All right. So I'm gonna wrap this conversation, Marcus, a great conversation, with my last question, which will probably be a personal question to you. So how do you keep yourself creatively bolstered? Just be progressive and true to your approach towards design, because not everyone can be creative all that time, right? So how do you just keep yourself being creative?
yes. Well, I have a lot of architecture books. I visit many expositions. I visit other architectures when I go to another city or another country. I visit the other architectures. I like to experience another cultures. And also, I'm a professor in Faculty of Architecture at Mackenzie University, which helped me to keep in touch with academic research. So I love to experience, to know other architectures, to research about competitions of architecture, to see the experience that architecture are improving around the world. So I love architecture.
You know,
So
there was someone who said the one who learns the most in the class is a teacher, is a professor. It's not just the students whom you're making learn, right? You are the one, a teacher is the one
yes,
who learns the most, right?
yes, yes,
I've seen a lot of architects, being the visiting faculty in different architecture colleges, which is good. I mean, you get to be on that bandwagon of trends. You get to update your mind as well, architecturally. All
yes,
right.
yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
I love to feel the space. I love to look the space, to learn how the materials are constructed. But I also love to sit down in the architecture and look, just look and feel how people use, look how the lights are, how the light behaves in that space. So I love to see the details of the space. To me, it's very important to feel architecture, feel the materials, feel the sensations that are evoked with the construction of the spaces. And so I love this experience. I love to live in architecture.
All right, Marcus. Thanks for providing such generous responses and pretty insightful conversations. And to be very honest, this was one of the most honest conversation I've ever had with any
Thank you.
architecture. Thanks for it. And we at RTF had got a massive respect for your project and whatever
Thank
things
you.
you come up with. And congratulations once again on winning the Global Architecture and Design Award.